very much. Oh, that's a lovely reception. I have to say that mostly I am indebted for my dedication and for my whatever I've evolved as a person was from having the privilege of being one of the first students that Deirdre Connell had, myself and Thomas Hickey and Gabriel Byrne, and when she came over from New York from the Actors Studio and set up the Stanislavski, and the tools she gave to the people and everybody that came through there to connect with their creativity, and it could take lots of different mediums. Then people became writers and actors, of course, mostly, but film and all kinds of things. So I think that it's so important what you're doing, the whole thing of creativity and the arts, what it does for the community and for the country and for every individual then in there. Like a lot in education and in the colleges of art, that kind of exposure, that kind of encouragement of connecting with their creativity and being free to express it. So I just want to thank you for your kind opening words. And I have to say, I'm overwhelmed. I really haven't seen a felt exhibition before. You know, I've seen individual pieces in craft shops, but I haven't seen anything like this. And I have to say, I'm blown away. I think it's absolutely wonderful what has been and what can be done. You know, the innovation of how these, and the fact that it's made from start. Yes. You know, that they make the felt and the technique of the wetting the felt and doing it, and then the eclectic thing of mixing it with, you know, with other things. I mean, it's only tremendous. I have only had a quick glance at it, but I have to say I'm very excited, and I hope that so many people will come, and that you might transfer it into town, into the National Gallery somewhere, because it's truly amazing, isn't it? Really amazed, and it's particularly, you know, that now. I suppose I should go back to my speech and then. It's a great pleasure and privilege to be here with you all at this Feltmakers Ireland Guild, and I have to congratulate the people who set up the Guild. And the Guild has such resonance back to the Middle Ages and everything, hasn't it? The Guild, yeah. So I think it was a wonderful, inspirational thing to have done, and I think it's just on time. These things, you can start them, and people have done that in lots of things. And then, like I was at the Dalkey School project the day before yesterday, I was involved in founding that. And that was Educate Together and multi-denomination, and then Educate Together. And you know, there was such opposition. It took years and years. None of my children were there when the schools were open. But we were just in time when next thing is there was this influx of people from all over the world, and the people who are here, they wanted something new, and they Educate Together schools, and that's the preference for parents. They want the child-centered and that. So, you know, people can be inspired. That was Bill Hyland, he happened to be, and Anya Hyland, who was a university secretary now at the Department of Education, but he knew that you didn't have to have the bishop as be the patron, because everyone was convinced it had to be Catholic, and it had to be the bishop, and that they were the patron and they employed the people. But being a secretary in the Department of Education, he knew that a patron could be a group of parents who wanted to be the parents, and that's how the Dalkey School project, and it took a long time to get there, but now it has flourished. There are 90 now Educate Together, and there are 21 secondary schools, and it is the preferred thing for, and it's really, it just was revolutionary, and it was so valuable for the ordinary primary schools. I was involved in the parents' councils and our annual delegate conference, and when we went there, the emotions that would come in from the Church of Ireland schools and they educate together. They were opening. I mean, people were shocked first and feeling, oh, this is going to ruin our lives. And the following year, they were up there themselves, talking the same. So these things, the pioneers that come to us and start something, and then there's no doubt at all that my son says there's a great future in wool, and it really is the sustainability has becoming more and more obvious to the world and leaders of the world, that the fast fashion and the artificial magnetic, these kind of things, they are, and the crisis, I see more about it, the crisis in the world where all that fast fashion being shipped over to Africa and shipped over to other countries and ruining their thing. They don't want it. They don't want that stuff coming. And to get rid of it, there's such a job of getting rid of our rubbish, of our things, and they dump it, So the fast fashion thing, I think, is having its day just for that's why I feel this is so sustainable consumption and production. The Sustainable Development Goals, it is right in there for promoting those, that 12 and 13 is, number 12 is sustainable production and consumption, and 13 is action for climate change, and number 4 is quality education. And these are all things that wool is having its day and will have its day, and I think will be so valuable. I'm very, very devoted to the sustainable. I'm sure you all know about that was there are 200 countries in the world in 2015 at the United Nations agreed that to save the planet from going out of extinction, out of existence, or that these things had to be done. You had to see the floods and the fires that we all see now, and the desertification, and all of these things that was making the planet uninhabitable had to be tackled. So all the countries of the world, 200 of the United Nations ones, they spent a long time, and then they agreed, and we had an Irish minister and a Kenyan one that finally did it. There were the 17 Sustainable Development Goals that they brought it down to. These are the things that would make it that everyone on the planet could flourish. There was room for everyone if we behaved, properly. So the 17 were right. They went through the whole lot that for that to happen, you had no poverty, no hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, clean and affordable energy, decent work and economic growth, innovation and infrastructure, and reduced inequalities, and that's one, responsible consumption and production, because so much is in the great book of Ian Goff's, we're going by what we want rather than what's needed. What do people need? And when you bring it down to that, it's a very, very, and when people bring it to themselves, and what do we need rather than what I want? If you don't want it all, it's only wasting your time. But then after that was the climate change on the water and on land, and then peace, which should have been number one now. And we see the world we've come into now, the most important thing in the world, justice and strong institutions, and definitely the United Nations is the institution that has to be supported, and the number. I was over at the minute with the President for those in New York and also in Paris for these big commitments were made for climate justice, because the countries that had benefited from taking all the stuff from those other countries, that there would be a kind of helping countries to be able to be sustainable. But the big promises that were made in Paris, they haven't been honoured. The money is going off to armaments, And we see even our own paper saying you have to have the mind of war, that you have to forget about the social things that are needed. The money has to be going into increasing our defence, our armament. All scaremongering, all stupidity, all just madness. But that really is been pushing back against all the great work that has been done for the Sustainable Development Goals and that. So, and I think what you're doing and what lots of people, you're the other side. You're the people that are bringing, the peace people and the people who are doing that, the felting and the wool and the understanding that they are the other side. I mean, these are real forces in the world, the ones that want to prioritise, just ignore the deniers of how urgent it is that we are responsible in that. So I don't know why I hope you don't mind my going on like that, but I do think it's so important, because I mean, it was so tragic when we used to see the fleeces of wool being used in bogs to support a tractor from rolling backwards.
Yes.
But those days are over, And suddenly in the trade unions, and he says the wool has a great future, and they're very understanding the importance of the wool and the sustainable fabrics and the sustainable. And I mean, I'm blown away to see what have been done, the felting. I'm patron of wool in schools, which is great now, bringing it back to children at school being taught that it will be part of their education. Well, that's the ambition, and I'd say the education departments will buy into it, of being taught how to knit, and they're giving bowl to bowl and knitting needles and that for children. And the same with, I see in your felting, felting, that having this of teaching children what the felting is, and that is the oldest. In Sumeria, the earliest civilizations of Sumeria, and what was the other, that's where the felting started. And then of course in Ireland the wool has been, really it was everything, that was. And it's still great if you have a tree, like my husband wears tweed suits. They are so fantastic. They are so fantastic, the way they last. And if you put them in a kind of a press in the morning, they come out and they last and last. And it's the same with the hand knit jumpers and everything. They last, and they're self-cleaning, the merino wool. So I think that people are understanding that. I think there is a big move to people wanting that kind of life rather than this fast thing, and it really is a thinking. It can become the culture, as the fast one and the fast everything. But I think that the other will and can be and will become how people, and the schools are very good for the Sustainable Development Goals being, having them. I call them the 17 commandments for our time, which I think there are. You consider the 10 commandments, but really for our time, these are the 17 ones. I say them every night and every morning. They're great, most wonderful prayer you could have, whatever you call a prayer, for aspiration, for the happiness of humanity, and for everyone surviving and the people working, seeing the sense of moving towards that. And there's so many great people in the world that are all working towards that. As I say, there's people, so many working towards that, and then there's the ones that armaments and, killing people in this day and age. That time has passed. There's no time for war or anything. There's time for saving the planet, and there's no need now with communications. If there's a conflict in that, then there's all of these. If you have the strong United Nations, you move in and you have negotiations and discussion, and it doesn't matter if it takes time, but once it doesn't reduce to people killing each other, and then their armaments, and they're the people who are pushing the world. They really are. 2.4 trillion was spent last year on armaments. A kind of an increase, I think, of something like 10% on the year before. and there's a push for more and more. It's just spent otherwise, that and they know how to do it, and they said the United Nations is our great big institution that's supported, that we can have, and we must have that. We must save the planet. We must have it that there's equality, that people all have a means of living and being flourishing, and they don't want crazy huge four-wheeler car, whatever these cars are called, and yachts on the Riviera and whatever. They won't want those. I suppose I better not go back to now all this. Yeah. No, it was just saying that in a world that's increasingly digital, automated and fast-paced, there is something profoundly meaningful about bespoke and handmade art, which there is. I think people now value, they see how wonderful it is. And the crafts like felt making, an art that demands patience and dedication, remind us to slow down, to engage with the materials, and to value the work of human hands. They offer an antidote to the mass-produced and the disposable. It is a tactile, meditative process, one that connects the maker deeply to the material and to centuries of artisans before them. And I think that's it. You're not alienated from the world or from the people who went before or what's there. You're that kind of connection with the reality. But I was just what I've been saying. The sustainability is the most important issue now. And that when we choose gold, we choose material that is kind to the earth, that is durable, one that connects to the natural cycles of our land and our heritage, and that these are all closely aligned with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And we're, while often sustainable, that it's possible and we can do it. So I'm just refer again to the fact that I was delighted to be asked to be patron of woolen schools, and I think that's going to flourish and become a reality. And because connecting children with the rich heritage of woolcraft that's been an integral part of Irish culture for centuries, but also we all did turning the heel and making gloves and the skein and the pearl and everything. Yeah, and they're so easy and so nice. But it's really wonderful to be back to that again. Yeah, and the working school, they gain a unique opportunity to engage with the goals through the hand-on practice of wool processing and knitting. Doing so, they can pass down the rich tradition, culture and traditions of woolcraft, fostering a deeper connection between our young people and their role in shaping a more sustainable future, as we aim to ensure that sustainable development goals become not just an aspiration, but a lived reality. And it just says, imagine a world where every child knows the value of wool, more than just as a material, but as a symbol of sustainability, creativity, and resilience. And I think that's it, for children to be really connected. They can understand, and they can understand the importance they are, and how important they are in this world. And they learn the heritage crafts, and they understand as well. That's not something, that's really being modern, being at the forefront. Yeah, and they appreciate that. Yeah. And so I said, being at the exhibition is the future of Irish craft, a practice that continues to evolve, inspiring new generations to create, experiment and innovate. And to all the artists, the Feltmakers whose hands have worked to bring these creations to life, who have contributed to this exhibition, thank you for keeping this tradition alive, and thank you for sharing your creativity with us, and your skill, imagination and passion are also evident in every beautiful, wonderful pieces that are displayed here today. And it's my hope that exhibitions like this will encourage more people, young and old, men and women, all backgrounds, to take up felt making. I was delighted to see that you have classes and you run courses in it, so it's really great. I want to extend my deepest gratitude to Feltmakers Ireland for their commitment to this craft. Such dedication ensures that felt making continues to thrive, that Irish wool finds new life in artistic hands, and that heritage crafts remain an integral part of our social, economic and cultural landscape. So it was great pride and joy that I declare the Feltmakers Ireland annual exhibition officially open.